What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Heck versus Hell, where the truth we tell. Welcome and welcome back to all you lovely listeners. As you can somewhat already see, this is going to be just a little placeholder teaser, uh something of that nature, to where basically I'm going to be updating you because may some of you may have noticed that the posting for last week was a little off. I'm kind of sporadically coming on here. If you are listening to this at the time it is uploaded, happy holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. I know we try to go against that, but we're still growing in our process of walking in Christhood, right? Hopefully, we can all learn together too the Passover and how to do those different holidays, because that's what we need to be doing. But you know what? God uses everything for good and His glory, even if it is meant for evil. Genesis 50:20. Remember that, okay? Anywho, I had a little predicament arise. So this was, I want to say, 2 weeks ago almost. So you guys didn't even notice because I was actually, I had an episode already ready for you, but this nonetheless, it occurred out of nowhere, out of thin air, and it was actually on the day that that episode was uploaded, on a Friday. What episode was that? I want to say Misplaced Loyalty. That's right. So, a couple hours before it was uploaded, I had sheriffs come to my door, knock, and arrest me out of nowhere. Uh, whole situation. Thank you to Lex very much because of how she was able to make things happen. Otherwise, it would be at least, maybe 2, 3, 4 months till you got another HVH episode, unless you got one from the phone, and we somehow put it together. It would be all a little hard audio. And I do want to say that too. Excuse me for the background audio, as it is not the best. I know previously I didn't have the best setup either, but this one is not the best either because it does have a little bit of echo. I'll see what I can do about that, what adjustments I can make so that the audio could be a lot better, because that's one of the things I like to focus on, is making sure that all of you lovely soldiers get the best experience. Okay? So that's kind of a little bit of a gist of what happened, but fret not, we will be having a little bit of a rollout for that. I won't go too much into detail, but we will have maybe an episode where we go into that conversation of what transpired, what God was doing in those moments, different things like that, of taking you along that mini journey. Okay, I'm not going to say it's a really long or detailed episode because some of the things that transpired can't be talked about at the moment. So, regardless, we'll go into some of the conversation, and a couple people that I met with, hopefully share a couple of their testimonies as well. And while they can't right now, you know what? And maybe I'm going to try to do something where I time it to where they can kind of be interviewed from the phone. So it's going to be bad audio. It's not going to be the best audio, but maybe. We'll see about that. I'll also have to ask Lex for permission from that. But we will very much see. However, I want to thank you all for constantly listening, constantly showing all the love, and just continuing to be here. Just continuing the journey with us, being on that to where you can elevate too. Because we tell these stories, we tell these analogies, we go into these conversations always with the intention of growing, learning, and elevating, which is exactly as we should do it. Every day we have to continuously and progressively elevate in no matter what situation. And I pray that each and every one of you, no matter the situation, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how crazy it may seem right now, I hope that you understand. Read chapter Romans 8:28. I hope you understand that all things work out good for those who love him. It's going to always be a journey. There's always going to be problems in everyday life. And one thing, too, you could use this if you're trying to bring someone to understand the love of God the right way, too, is there's a lot of people that basically ask the question to why, if we follow Christ, follow God, do we still go through problems, go through trials and tribulations? And I guess this is also a prelude to the next episode that we're going to have. And there's a difference between tests and temptations. Every person in their life will always go through tests and temptations, right? But every person in their life will always go through tests, no matter what academic level you were at, no matter what societal standing you were at, no matter the economic background that you have, no matter the bloodline that you have in you. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are, what your objective is, what your background is, what your ethnicity is. Trials and tribulations see no difference. There's people that just live and wander the world, not living their life to the fullest, to where they do the bare minimum with their life, still end up finding these problems. And there's people that go and live in a way to where they focus solely on achieving their success, which is a huge like movement in Western society, where it's like you gotta hustle and flow and move and just continue. Matter of fact, hashtag hustle and flow. Shout out to Lex back whenever she was doing those episodes. I haven't heard those are awesome, and I'm trying to get her fired back up to go do that again. But no matter what situation you were in, just hustling and flowing and getting to the point where you are causing your own problems, your own tribulations of what you want to go through, essentially, right? Discipline that you want to learn. And I think that's super great. That's to each their own. Of course, the intentions are not there, but hopefully God can use it for good. Hopefully, like I don't know, He's going to, but you know what? And then there's people in Christ where some of them just go through these problems and they don't get to see it for what it is. And then there's that next level where you've already matured in Christ. You've already gotten to a point where you have a deeper understanding and a deeper relationship with God, to where your perspective changes and you can actually begin to see and appreciate the level of difference. The perception of how you see these is more so changed as an opportunity for growth. You have joy through these trials of tribulations, just like James chapter 1, I believe it's verse 1 through 8, where it talks about how all these tests are for a reason. The tests go and grow your patience, and it ultimately builds your character, and it just continues to help you get to that next level, get to that next stepping stone of character development. And then above that, we still have to fully engulf the own discipline, just like these quote unquote successful people have. We have to be able to put on this discipline onto ourselves as well, because we have to remember this is not our home. And we have to be disciplined enough to carry the responsibilities that God placed for us and allow our purpose to come through to fruition. So we have to have a level of discipline in the same way that these people of unwealthy gain have. And that's actually something that I was talking to Lex about yesterday. It was Luke 17 or 16, Luke 16, where it talks about a shrewd manager. And one of the verses was basically befriending befriending wealthy people of the world and learning from their mistakes, learning from how they manage things, learning for how they go and they utilize their resources for deeper value things, whether that be time, whether that be relationships, whether that be, the kingdom of heaven is utilizing these resources for that. But regardless, it's still going to a learning point, and that's what I'm talking about too, is we have to constantly keep growing and learning. I met some people in there that just were stuck. They just no longer wanted to learn. 47 years old, no longer wanted to learn, was just stuck in their ways, and just it was almost like they're capped, like they capped themselves off intentionally, just like that one flea experiment where they put fleas that used to jump 6 feet in the air. They used to jump, and then they put them in the jar, and they could only jump to a cap. And then the next generation, they went and had children, right? The fleas. They were born inside the jar, so once they took them out of the jar, that's only as high as they could go. Now the difference is that this specific person, I won't go too much into it. This specific person won't elevate above that. It's still a childish mentality in which they carry that is extremely worldly on a different level that if I really went into it, you'd probably be like, well, that's a little silly. But we're not going to go into it because that's his own personal business, and I don't want to be, first off, sharing other people's business in that format without their consent or permission, nor do I want to get you to a point of judging others, because regardless, that's still one of the things that we don't have to do. Of course, we can go and use discernment, but there's a difference between discernment and judgment. It's the intention of what you do it and the standpoint of where you do it from. Okay? But that's going to be it for this. Just a little teaser, intro, re-intro into HVH, letting you know where we're at right now, because I can't leave you hanging. But I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, week, month. Happy holidays if you're listening to this at around the holiday times, around the time it was posted, any times. And it's a blessed day, okay? It's a blessed day. Take some time, even if it's just 3 minutes, to put aside and talk to God and tell Him what you're thankful for. Focus on those things, because ultimately that'll change the perspective of your next 24 hours, maybe even 48 hours, maybe even if it's just 6 hours, whatever, but it still puts you in that state of higher frequency, which is joy, peace, love. So I love you. Be the change, feel the passion, embrace the power of the spirit within. Had to say it for the one time because I miss it. That's Lex's thing if you're not familiar with that. But I love you all. Hope you have a blessed one. We'll catch you on the flip side.